Imagine you are exploring a cave. You go deeper and deeper, and then you come close to something that looks completely out of place. A organic, disgusting looking growth spreading throughout the entire cave system, which almost looks like it can come to life at this point. You can't help but feel uncomfortable by the repeating patterns of holes in the walls, and suddenly, a loud blood-curdling scream can be heard. And before you even understand what's happening, as your vision turns dark, you can see a pair of jaws right in front of you. This is what the Deep Dark and the Warden could have been if Mojang had decided to make the Hollowed instead. And today I challenge myself to bring it to life. But what does that mean? Am I just going to be making a resource pack? I mean, those are available out there, right? No. I'm doing my own take on what the Hollowed could have been. I'm not just going to make a scary mob, but I'm going to make the biome completely different. I'll add new blocks and features to make it completely different from the Deep Dark and make you think twice before exploring it. Or I am not called Josh. Well, that sounded cooler when I was writing the script. Josh is not that cool of a name. But what is the Hollowed exactly? You see, the Hollowed is the precursor of the Deep Dark. Back when Mojang was still developing the creepy biome for Minecraft, they had a bunch of ideas. From a biome that looks like rotting bones to rust or void, and one of the many ideas was this. A biome based on Trypophobia, which is something that I bet most of you, including me, have. It's the fear or disgust towards an uneven cluster of holes in surfaces. Most of the time, organic surfaces. Well, the biome didn't act any different from our current Deep Dark, however, the original design for the Warden was this. A fleshy beast with a gigantic mouth full of fangs. Can you imagine using a time machine and saying these exact same words to someone playing Minecraft in 2011? Now, my first goal was to make the biome, so I pulled some of the early photos of the Hollowed and I tried to make a texture similar to the blocks seen here. And using a combination of colors that look like skin, I managed to make an environment that looks absolutely terrible and would make me not want to explore it at all. The second block I made was a simple fleshy block without holes. The reason for this is that the holes are present literally everywhere and don't look random enough. One thing that makes Trypophobia work is that when the holes exist in an irregular pattern, so having them scattered throughout the entire biome might actually work against it. And by making these blocks exist in a similar pattern to how the ore veins are generated, we'll have the hollowed blocks appear more scattered throughout the biome, and it just looks more organic and unpredictable. But now it's time to make something even worse. I feel like the biome is missing some movement. One thing that makes the Deep Dark so weird are the scope sensors which move, so I animated the hollow blocks. It's simple but effective, and by doing some coding shenanigans, I was able to pull off a block that's animated. Ugh. And now we have a hollowed block that moves and help make this place feel more alive. Some other blocks that I have introduced are drippy hollowed, which creates the new fluid, which is generated beneath these blocks. Hardened hollowed, which is a part of a special structure that generates around the walls and ceilings, which are shaped like bigger holes. It was very clear to me that it feels like you are inside of a giant living creature. Just the way the blocks look and move look very organic, so my idea was to make this biome feel even more unpredictable and alive, almost as if the biome itself was aware of your presence. So while looking at the narrow cave passage, I had an idea, and that usually means something terrible. I was thinking about how I could make it so a misguided explorer would feel even more confused and lost inside of this biome. So I began working on a special entity that mimics the appearance of the nearby blocks, and would spawn in these very specific small passages. And by using the function look at, we can make it so the hole closes itself when the player turns its back. And after making sure it works, most of the time, and now that I apply the texture, it looks perfect. Or terrible, you know, if you're a normal person. So whenever you are exploring and you want to make your way back, you'll be struck with confusion, wondering where you came from. The idea is to make the player feel disoriented, especially when you're being chased by the Hollow. But before we work on the main entity, I need to present you another entity. The Bloodworm. One of the main aspects of the Deep Dark is how the only existing mob is the Warden. There are two good reasons for that. One, because making the Warden the only mob makes for a more scary atmosphere. And two, because the Warden would just go absolutely crazy fighting a bunch of other mobs. To be honest, that's the real reason why there's no other mobs in the Deep Dark. But the Bloodworm is different, as it can spawn on the ceiling and quickly disappear on sight. As it travels through the blocks above you, there's a very small but possible chance that the worm will dig itself out and launch itself towards you, essentially jump scaring the player. And after it lands itself on the ground, it will burrow itself in and begin to stalk the player once again. To finish the biome, I added a special yellowish green fog to really give off that sicklish feel, so when you step in, you can really tell that you're inside of another place. And it really just helps to make the atmosphere feel alien and weird. Also, I added some custom shapes for the caves. Some of these pillars are random and curved and just look more organic. Also, you may have noticed that I have not included any skulk sensors or shriekers. And that's because I replaced them with exposed nerves. This biome, unlike the Deep Dark, does not use sound detection as its main theme. It actually uses movement detection, so you can freely walk and run as long as you don't touch these exposed nerves. Now we have a very disgusting and creepy biome with a very good atmosphere, a mob that jump scares the players. All that we're missing now is the main entity, the Hollowed. By taking inspiration from the official videos posted on the Minecraft channel, we can have a very clear look at how the Hollowed used to look like, just exactly like the blocks around it. And featuring a gigantic mouth with rows of sharp fangs, one of the main reasons why this design was rejected was because Mojang felt like it didn't really fit with the game's more friendly aesthetic. I honestly can't really blame them. Yep. Yeah. But I am not Mojang, so I went a step forward. I began by taking the Warden and changing the way it's shaped, curving its back and making the body twisted so it looks more out of place and scary. And I also made sure to remove its left arm, because being asymmetrical is just a little weirder, since every other mob in this game is symmetrical, and this idea just really makes it fit the vibe of the biome. And for the texture, I used the same colors featured in the blocks, and I added way more holes and uneven patterns. I used a red tone for some details, and for the mouth I added even more fangs. I used darker tones to the fangs to make it look like they are deeper into the mouth cavity. And now the Hollowed was done. Also, different from Mojang, I made the jaws separated so that when I'm animating they can open and close just like a real mouth. No, I will not hear you out. Behave. But we need some scary animations, so I made a walk which feels way more aggressive than the Warden. Spawning. I also had to replace one of the Warden's main features, which is the sonic boom. This is Mojang's solutions to people who want to avoid the Warden by building upwards or hiding inside the walls. But copying and pasting this feature onto the Hollowed just felt like really cheap. It just didn't fit, so I gave the Hollowed a tongue attack. Once it detects a player or a mob and it's too far to reach, it will open its mouth and launch its long tongue, pulling them closer. I can already imagine the comments. Please behave. But how will the Hollowed detect a player if it does not have the ability to hear it like the Warden? Good question. You see, I have made these entities that spawn in the walls, appearing at random intervals and scanning the environment around them for a few seconds before returning back into the walls. Basically, imagine them as cameras. These are the eyes of the Hollowed. So basically, the biome and the mob work as one, and as long as you're being detected by them, the Hollowed will always know exactly where you are. And now, excuse me as I have to go to therapy. Man, these blocks, I hate them, it's awful, it's disgusting.